All right, AP Computer Science A, Unit 4. I'm going to give you guys some help on Project P4E, the download info free response problem. So if we go into our Unit 4 folder, let's take a look at the assignment real quick. And I'm going to be referring to this a lot as I go through this. In fact, I'm going to be typing a lot of what's already in here. So we go down to P4E. This is the one I want to do. So let's see. Now, some of the things they tell you, assume that classes listed in the appendices have been imported where appropriate. Unless otherwise noted in the question, assume that parameters and method calls are not null, that methods are called only when their preconditions are satisfied. In writing solutions for each question, you may use any of the accessible methods that are listed in classes defined in that question. Writing significant amounts of code that can be replaced by a call to one of these methods may not receive full credit. So essentially, don't recreate things that they've created for you or even yourself that you've created in previous parts. So a music website keeps track of downloaded music. For each download, the site uses a download info object to store a song's title and the number of times it has been downloaded. So that's some key information there. A download info object stores the song's title and number of times it has been downloaded. A partial declaration for the download info class is shown below. So this is just part of it. And in fact, it's the only parts you really need to know on the AP test. But we're going to try and make a working version of this. So why don't we go ahead and type this up? And you're not really supposed to do anything in here, but let's add some more code to it and some more things to it to make it work. Okay, constructors, private instance variables, maybe even a toString, so it prints out nicely. And if we look further down, and this assignment actually has some examples later on of some download info objects, has the song title and the number of times downloaded. So maybe we should try and put that in the toString. So, and that'll help us be able to test it out. So I'm going to go to BlueJ, and I'm going to create a new project. It seems a little slow. Okay. And I'm going to put it into my AP Computer Science A, whatever current folder. And I already have another project. You guys should probably have a bunch of projects. I'm going to call it P4E project. Okay. So we'll create that. And let's go ahead and start working on that class. So we're going to write that class. We're also going to do some work on the other class, and then even maybe work on creating a driver. So new class, we're going to call this, we're going to do everything exactly. Download info, capital D, camel notation. Okay, we're going to open it up. We're going to gut it. And now at any point, I'm going to probably type this code quickly, but you can pause the video and catch up if you need to. But we're going to do public class download. And a lot of this is already on, this was on the problem. Now, it doesn't have any private instance variables listed. That doesn't mean it doesn't have them. They said that it stores the title. So I'm going to just call it title and the number of times downloaded. I'm going to say int because later it's, seems like an int. Times downloaded. And let's create a constructor, public download info. This is just good practice too. Should we make a zero arg? I don't think we need to, but whatever. Title equals null times downloaded equals 0. So end 0 arg constructor. Public download info. So for this constructor, this is the multi-arg constructor, and I'm going to do some things that we've started to see more of. I'm just going to instead of saying initial title, so it's going to be string, and I'm just going to call it title. Now, we don't need to increment times downloaded because it's going to start at 0 times downloaded, and then it'll increment itself. So we're going to assume that we don't need to, put the number of times. Now, this, by the way, this constructor, if we go back and we take a quick look at this constructor is shown, right? This constructor, let's see, okay, so this constructor is shown right there, public download string title. So they've given it to you. It says creates a new instance with the given unique title and sets the number of times downloaded to 1. So the first time you create it, it assumes that you've downloaded it. The unique title of the download song. Okay, so in ours, it just takes a title, and they wrote title. So I'm going to say this dot title. So that's saying that the private instance variable title equals title, which is that temporary variable name inside here. And then end 1 arg constructor. So we're going to set times downloaded to 1. That's what it said it does. So you don't have to type up all the comments, but that's what it said it does. What else? It says there's a getter for title. We could create a getter for times download too, just in case that's useful for us to test it out. So I'm going to say public int get times downloaded, and that's a 0 arg method, 0 parameter, and return times downloaded. So end method get times downloaded. I guess, I don't know, it's kind of nice to go in order, so I'll put the other one here. Public string. Now this one was listed in the assignment, public string get title, but it didn't have the code for it, the implementation they call it. So we're going to put that in here. It's easy. Return title. It's just a simple getter, right? And method get title. Okay, so we've added that. Let's see what else we should add. Now there is a method that's public. This is, if you go to the assignment, it lists on the very first page, public void increment times downloaded, and it's 0 arg, and end method increment times downloaded. So this is going to increment. It's going to take times downloaded plus. Right? It just adds 1 to it. Right? Let's create toString. This will just help us test it out, print stuff out. Public string toString. So none of this would have been required on the AP test, but this is the only way we're going to get a working version of it. End method toString. So you could just say return title plus times downloaded. Now times downloaded is an integer, an int, but when you add it to a string, it will it will concatenate it to a string. So we got to close our curly braces, end class download info. I think we're good. Here we can try and compile it. Looks good. So I think that should work now. In the code, it says there may be, there's something that doesn't public. My constructor, public download info, string title, what does it say? Missing method, body or declare abstract. Oh, I put a semicolon on the end of that. Shouldn't. Okay, so there we go. Little things. Okay, so I think we're good here. I think we got that. So we'll close that up. And actually, I didn't really want. Okay, let's start working out here. We'll take a quick look at the assignment again. So we just put all the guts into there. So if we go to the next one, it says the list of downloaded information is stored in a music downloads object. A partial declaration of music downloads class is shown below. It says the list of downloaded information, the list. So if you look in here, public class music downloads, private list. So this is private instance variable. List is just like array list of download info objects. So we're going to have an array list of download info objects. The things, this is class composition, right? And they call it download list. So this is going to have an array list of those objects we were just dealing with. And then there's a constructor. It shows you, actually gives you the code for it. Public music downloads constructor actually just creates an empty one. So it doesn't bring anything in really. And then there's this method, public download, get download info string title. So you give it a title of a song and it returns a reference to the download info object with the requested title if it exists. So it looks to see if it's already here. And if it is, it returns the reference to it. So if you return the object, you're not really returning the object, you're returning a reference to the object. Title, the requested title, returns a reference to the download info object with a title that matches primary title if it exists, null otherwise. So it should return null if the song isn't already there. Post condition, no changes are made download list. So you're going to go and look through a download list, which is a private instance variable here, for a certain song. And that's what you're supposed to do on part A. So that's kind of a basic search for something. And we've been doing that in previous units, looking for certain numbers or looking for certain things. So just think, pretty straightforward part A. And then part B says public void update downloads. And it gives you a list, an array list of strings. So you have an array list of downloaded info objects, private instance variable. This takes from a client class, the driver, in our problem, an array list of strings that are titles of songs that says that have been downloaded. And what it does is it says it updates the downloads list. So it means if it says there are no duplicate titles download list, no entries were removed from download list. All songs and titles will represent download list for each existing entry in download. If the song's already there, what you do is the download count gets increased by the number of times its title appeared in titles. So each time it shows up, you increment the times downloaded. The order of the existing entries in download list is not changed, so you shouldn't be rearranging them. The first time an object with a title from titles is added, it is added to the end of the list. So if it's not there already, you add it to the end of the list. Okay, you have to create the download list object for it. New entries in download list appear in the same order in which they first appear in titles. For each new entry, the download count is equal to the number of times its title appeared in titles. So that's what you're going to do in part B. And then that's all they give you. This is there may be instance variables, constructors, and methods that are not shown. And then they go in here later and they kind of show you more specific examples. So, but let's see if we can create the code. We'll type the code that's already here and then a little more, but you're going to have to do part A and part B, but I'll try and help you out in getting the extra stuff ready to go. So, new class. This one is going to be this one's going to be music downloads. Music downloads. Okay. And we'll open it up. We'll get it. And public class. This is already on there. Music. This is on the assignment. Downloads. In class, music downloads. Okay. So private instance variables, which it listed one for you. So private list download info. So a list is like an array list. An array list is a list, and I'm not going to get into all those kind of details yet. It'll make more sense next semester in a future unit. But because it is an array list, one of the things that we have to do now, you wouldn't have to worry about this on the AP test. They told you assume that all the classes are, like you wouldn't have to worry about, oh, I got to type this in import, but we do to make it work. Import java dot util dot list and also import java dot util dot array list. So we need to put that at the top. So that's our private instance variable, and then we need a constructor, and they gave you one. I guess we create a zero-arg constructor. That's all they actually have. Public music downloads, and it's a zero-arg constructor. And so what happens is, zero-arg constructor, or they call it the default constructor, what they do is they don't actually ever bring any song download info objects to begin with. They just create an empty array list. So it takes the private instance variable download list and initializes it. Now we're going to say and they even show you it's a new array list. So even though it says list right here, and say array list here, that's a more specific type of list, and it's going to hold download info objects, and then you got to put the empty parentheses. So there you go. That was already in the code, so we're just typing it up. And so next is the part that you got to do. So this is public download info get download info string title. End method get download info. So this one's all about getting a download info object from your array list of download info objects that has the same title. If it does, it says if it doesn't, you're supposed to return null. Now, if I leave this here, it's not going to compile, which is fine. If you want to comment it out to see if everything else works, that's fine too. The next method you're supposed to do for part B, this is part A. That's what you guys get to do. So public, the next one returns nothing, void, update downloads, and it says list, a list that holds strings called titles. So this has multiple titles. They're just strings though. They're not the full-blown download info objects. And so this is going to be part B. End method update downloads. Should we create a toString or something? Let's see. Yeah, let's create toString. Why not? So we say, just so we could test this out, public string toString 0R end method to string. Okay, so it's going to print a bunch of, it's got to print that whole list of songs out. So I'll just start with empty string, and then a for loop would be a really good way of going through the full thing. So I'll say for int index equals 0, and index is less than download list dot size index plus so bigger. Okay. Okay, so that's the header for that, and then we're going to say curly brace, and for. Okay. Say, all right, message plus equals, so it's going to add to itself the current download list dot get index. And it just adds on there. And then that relies on the download list toString that we already made. So that'll print out the title and the number of times downloaded. And then we'll say return message. And we're done. Now, it'd be interesting if you want some little practice right now, see if you could swap that out with a for each loop. Because I think you guys could use some practice with that. Swap that out for a for each loop. Now, if I try and compile this, it's not going to compile because it has these methods up here that it's bugged by that are supposed to return something, specifically this one. Because it says you're supposed to return download info and you're not returning anything. So it says missing return statement. That's fine. Let's now, it's showing class composition now. Let's create a driver. So I'm going to call it music downloads driver. Okay. And we're going to open it up. We're going to gut it. And public class music downloads driver. And class music downloads driver. Now this is where we're going to have the main method, so we can actually run it. So this is going to be public static void main string args and end method main. So this is our main method. So this is where we need to, now I'm going to try and recreate what they have in their example. So I'm going to create an array list. Now I'm going to have to import this in here too. I'm going to make an array list of download info objects. I'm going to call it test equals new array list. Make this a little bigger. Array list of download info objects. So that's just creating right now. I need to import that. So import java.util.list. Let's just import the list class. Import java.util.array list. So we got to add that. So in here, I called it test, so whatever. I'm going to add a new download info object. So the constructor, if you remember and look back at that first one, and this is the song, they had Hey Jude in the example. And then test.add new download info object soul sister, and test.add new download info object constructor aqua lung. Okay, so that's just created that first scenario. Now we got to increment the times downloaded to get it to match. So I'm just trying to get this to match the assignment. Let's see. So in the assignment right here, Hey Jude's 5 times, Soul Sister's 3, and Aqualung's 10. So I'm going to try and get that figured out. Returns reference object to position 2. Okay. Web music. So, for example, suppose variable web music A refers to an instance of music downloads that the table below represents the context of download list. So, okay, so I'm just trying to get this download list, and then I'm going to create the, okay. So I'm going to just use a simple, like some simple for loops just to increment their times downloaded really quick, okay? Index equals 0. I mean, you can do this other ways too. Index equals 0. Index is less than 4. Let's see, index plus plus. So I'm just going to do a for loop to increment Hey Jude up to 5 times. So that would be test.get the thing in the 0 spot dot increment times downloaded. That's that method. So that'll do the job for us, but it only does it one at a time. Now I think I'm just got. Now we wanted 5 for it, but the reason I'm going up to 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is because once you create it, it sets it at 1. So I'm going to copy this and use this for the other songs real quick. This isn't something you really need to know how to do for this. I'm just trying to create the scenario they have. So the next one is spot 1 is supposed to be 3 times. So 0, 1, 2, and then 1 spot 2 is supposed to be equal to is it 9? So let's see. Let's take a quick look again real quick. 5, 3, 10. 5, 3, 10. So This one's 1, goes up 4 times to 5. This was 1, goes up twice to 3. This was 1, goes up 9 to 10. Okay, so that just gets those all set up. And then what we could do, just to see if it works, we could do a for loop real quick. Int index equals 0. Index is less than test size. And index plus plus. I'm gonna see if it worked. Print it out, make sure it is what we think it should be. System.out print ln test get index get. I think we could just probably. And we could do the get. I think we just put test.get index, and then that would use the toString in that class. And 4. So far we just tried to create that first thing they gave us. So then next we need to create the they say web music. So this is a music downloads. We call it web music A equals new music downloads, and we feed it this array list of songs. So in it, so actually, I think I might go back and add another constructor just to make this work easier. So I'm gonna let's see. I'm gonna go back to music downloads, and I'm gonna add what we could do right now just to test this out is comment this out, so it'll compile. I'm gonna create another constructor here real quick. This is only to help it run. Public music downloads. This one takes an array list of. What did I just do? Okay. Public music downloads, and this takes an array list of download info objects, and I'm going to call it just initial download list. So this is not the way it would usually work, but I'm just doing this to try and make that example come to life quicker. So end arg constructor. It wasn't really supposed to have one, but this will make it work. And then just simply download list equals initial download list. So I'm going to add that. Okay, compile. Forgot the parenthesis on here. I'll try and compile again. And I commented out part A's code. So I'm going to go back here. I like to try and make these pictures look nice. You can see the class composition. So here, that's what I did here. I created this web music A music downloads object, and then we want to say list string. So now I'm going to create the list of downloads that they have later in the example. So in later on in part B, they give you this list. No, they give you they give you this list right here: lights, Aqualung, Soul Sister, Go Now, Lights, Soul Sister. And then this is what you should have after you feed it these new titles. So I'm going to make this string so we can test that out. So list string, song titles, I'm going to call it equals new array list. It's an array list of strings is what they said. So create array list of strings. And then song titles dot add lights. Now we got to make sure we spell it all correctly and stuff. So that does that. Song titles dot add Aqualung. So I'm doing exactly what they have in the example, same order, same songs. I got to make sure I spell them the same, otherwise it'll appear to be a different song. It will not help you test it very well, and you'll get frustrated. Soul Sister song titles dot add Go Now song titles dot add lights again. Okay, so it got downloaded again. Song titles dot add, and then we got Soul Sister again. Okay, so that creates that, and so what we want to do now is we want to say, okay, well, let's test this out. Web Music A, which we've already created the initial version of it, update downloads. So this is the method that you're supposed to write. And then we're going to give it song titles, and then it should upload it. Now it's not going to compile because, well, no, that might compile. And then to just to check it out, we're going to do system.out.println web music A. In fact, we could have done that to test this one out up here. So when we print that out, it might be helpful to print some blank lines in between some of this stuff so you can see where it begins and ends. System.out.println, just a blank line. And then we could have done, And then after we created this object, what we could have done just to test out our toString system.out.println web music A, which would really print out the same thing that we had up there. And then I'm going to print another blank line system.out.println because I don't want this to get confused with the next thing we try and print out. So that's it. So you got to now go back and fill in just a handful of lines of code for those methods. But and I don't know if we compile this. Let's see if it compiles. Oh, I forgot the extra. Oops, shoot. I'll do that. Do. Okay. So I need an extra parenthesis on the end of all these, right? Because that's in the dot add, and then the inner parentheses are for when we're creating. So, okay, let's compile it. Oh, shoot. Put a regular colon instead of a semicolon. Okay, compile. Oh, it's in all of these because I copied and pasted. Okay, let's try it again. All right, so it compiled. So we got, if you look at this, we got our beautiful little picture here. So going back to this real quick, in part A, they they do this whole thing, and I didn't put this in the driver, but this is what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to call webmusic.getDownloadInfo aqualung and returns a reference to the object in position 2. And then if you call webmusic getDownloadInfo happy birthday, it should return null because there is no happy birthday. And so what we can do is we could put those in the driver also. Let's see. So this would be after you created it and before this. So system.out.println. So we want system.out.println. So we want to call web music a dot get download info aqualung. I mean, this was directly in that assignment. Let's take a quick look. See, they say web music a dot get download info aqualung. And so if we print it out, it should print out aqualung with 10. And then we'll try it with happy birthday. So if you do it with happy birthday, it should return null. System.out.println web music a dot get download info happy birthday. And since it's not in there, it should return null. So I mean, going through these examples should help you kind of I'm doing the same thing again. Another parenthesis there, another parenthesis there. Okay. So now it says it can't find that because I commented that out because it wasn't going to compile. So I could comment these out for right now. And I don't know. I mean, we could try and run it, and we can see if it worked out nicely. So right click, void main. Let's see. Hey Jude 5, Soul Sister 3, Aqualung 10. Okay, so this thing, some things about like, we should put a space between these, right? So I don't, yeah. So let's go back real quick. In download info, we should add a space between these. That would make it nice for sure, right? Okay. And then in music downloads, the toString, when we're adding them all, maybe we should add, we could just do like a new line or something plus oh, remember that, right? Is it a forward slash? Let's try it real quick. Right click, compile, and click void main. Nope, I did the wrong one. Now, why is this doing a space right here? Did I accidentally put a space in the name? I could, and that would cause problems. So first of all, back here it should be forward slash, and then let's go to the driver real quick. When I put aqualung in the very first time, that'll cause problems. That'll cause much bigger problems. So I compiled it. Let's try it again. Void main. Okay, that looks good. 5 through 10, 5 through 10. Now, our method doesn't do anything yet. So the last one just says 5 through 10. But when we're done, it should look like this example here on part B. It should look like this when we're done. So, all right, that's it. Hopefully that helps.